Hey everyone, welcome to the morning live sessions. I want to talk about productivity and how to get more done in organizations, businesses. I've been consulting and working with organizations for the last 15 years, but in the last year, really honing in, diving into what makes them tick and how to increase results. And there's one common denominator that I discovered is what kills productivity in every single organization that I've worked with, that I've seen, that I've consulted, that I've examined. And I used to think it was a lack of focus, time management. That is actually not it. It is one of those things. So what happens is the reason for the lack of focus is actually this reason. Lack of focus is the secondary reason that is a productivity killer. But the very first one is this. It's communication, clear, concise connectivity between all people in an organization, transparency, understanding the same things and having the same vision. And this comes from the top down, but can be solved in different levels of management. So in a corporate setting, you have the leader, then you have sub-management, then they have sub-management, and then they have sub-management. This can be solved from the bottom up, but it's much quicker solved when it comes at the top. Throughput and throughput, how information can flow through an organization quickly, the speed that organization goes from the top down and is clearly understood the same throughout all departments, is the reason that kills productivity and also creates a lack of focus. Is a leader is lacking the ability to communicate and impart vision down, or those working up. This applies to all levels. And so increasing in communication with every level of employee, staff member, whatever that is, helps the productivity. So the number one productivity killer is not a lack of focus. What produces a lack of focus is a lack of clear, concise, understood communication, transparently, shared information across all people in an organization. Now, in a company, let's say you're a solopreneur, the number one reason that you are struggling to get sales and revenue is communication. You see, communication is not just inside of an organization, it's also how you communicate outside of it. How do you talk to those that are your customers? How do you communicate, impart vision, certainty about what you're doing? Is it clearly understood what you are doing outside of the organization as much as it is inside? Sometimes it's not going to be the shared information. You know, there's internal information and then there's external. But the external should always match the internal and vice versa. And then inside of an organization, what goes from the top down should be understood. Yet so often, for whatever reason, there's either pride, there's ego, there's worry, there's fear that if communication is directed and throughput is massaged and even oiled through a well-oiled machine, if you've ever heard that, that possibly, you know, your job might be at risk. You might lose your job. Somebody might take your job because then they understand how it happens. Maybe employees might leave and go work for someone else when they understand how to do what you do. A lack of communication is the number one productivity killer based on whatever that is, fear, pride, ego, who knows? So the number one thing to do is this. Let's not dive into, well, this is why I'm communicating. Let's really look at how a lack of communication causes trouble. If you have to talk to one person and then has to talk to another, then has to talk to another, and has to go around the loop of 5 to 10 people, that whole loop of communication is a throughput issue when you could just go directly across channels. Yet so often in management, we've actually created roadblocks that prevents people from doing that directly as well. Those that are lower down maybe have fear of communicating up because of some sort of a hierarchy. There's not a transparent way to communicate. They're afraid of telling their leader, hey, look, this isn't going to work. This is a better idea. Let's change this. Clear communication is that, which is why personal development is one of the best things that can help an organization grow. When your employees, when your staff, I'm not just talking about businesses, by the way, this applies as well to nonprofits. If your organization and those in it from the top down and the bottom up, this is down and up, you guys. Let's pause there. Top down, but then down up. There needs to be clear communication. Communication is a two-way street from the top down and the bottom up and everywhere in between. If you can oil that communication and there's no roadblocks in that, your productivity and what can be accomplished in the organization exponentially increases, because now there's no fear of presenting one scenario. You're not afraid of making a mistake from the bottom up, and you can clearly communicate from the top down what needs to be done, the vision. It gets imparted into those that are below you, and then ideas are then passed up to say, hey, maybe we can improve that vision. So the idea is this: to solve every productivity issue in your organization, in your business, with your clients. Get better at communication. This is one of the number one things that I believe is actually missing in our culture today. We've become so used to using these devices. We've become so used to typing emails, text messages, meetings, etc. Whatever that is, we have these different tools, and yet our communication is still lacking. Language is one of the most powerful ways to accomplish massive amounts of results in an organization. And when communication is clear, then focus starts to align, because now you're focused both in the area of communication and in what you're doing. There's a clear vision all the way down and up of what is to be accomplished. What can you do if you are a leader? One of the biggest things is get over your own pride, get over your own ego. Realize the people below me, I'm here to serve them. They are not servitude to me, okay? And empower those that are below you to come against possibly what you're talking about, and to present a better solution, to present a better scenario, and then listen to them. Ask questions, ask clarifying questions. Don't be an overlord. If you can do this from the top down, that changes everything. And what this is really asking, okay, and I just had a meeting the other day. I disagreed with almost everything that the person below me had said, but I was able to understand their side and then communicate and then help impart to them the vision of why we're doing it a different way. So instead of just saying, do it because I said it, they actually were able to grab onto the reason why I said it. And now they took ownership over that reason, because I was now there to serve them rather than them to serve me. Now there's throughput, and now we can accomplish more because of that communication. That's part of my leadership style right there. Is how can I come alongside people? How can I work with? How can I empower those below me to go 10 times further than me and do far more than I ever could on my own? And that's what a leader is supposed to do. That goes from the top down. Now, if you're somebody who's in an organization, you're at the bottom, how to help those that are above you? Because this, I find, is usually the challenge. You know, you're not going to force your CEO or your boss or something to see it in this way initially. So what you can do is really look at, how can I serve them? How can I ask more questions? How do I ask more clear questions of that person that is above me so that I can understand their vision? How can I understand what they want to express? And then ask them, hey, are you open to an alternate scenario? Learning how to communicate, asking questions, not just telling the person above you, well, I don't like that, not just telling the person below you, do what I said, but rather a clear communication. And even sidebar, taking it aside and saying, hey, listen, I think maybe our communication is struggling here. Let's maybe try something new. Let's try to communicate on a more clear, concise way that lets information flow with transparency. That way I understand what you see, what you think, you understand what I'm seeing, and we can work together to increase exponentially from this place. You know, what I've seen is what one person can do, 2 people can do 4 times as much, 3 people can do 16 times as much. It exponentially goes up from there. Like, there's not exact numbers to that, but if you can help solve the throughput issue, a well-oiled communication from the top down and the bottom up. If you're at the bottom, you're not trying to prove that you know a lot, but instead help understand what your leaders are asking you to do, and then help them see maybe an alternate scenario and ask, are you open to this? Then those that are below you, help them understand why your vision is this, not just do it because I said so, but help them take ownership over the vision. And if you can do this, will solve most of the productivity issues in your organization. And stop having meetings. Things can be solved with voice messages, email, video chat, Zoom, stuff like that. If you're having to have in-person meetings all the time, it's a huge productivity killer. There's technology now that can help aid us in this communication as long as the two sides both agree to use it. And if you're having a struggle with that, maybe present a new scenario. Hey, I got a lot we need to accomplish. Let's try to streamline and speed up our communication with technology. I think the in-person meeting is important, but not all the time. And if you can streamline this, clear communication, and accelerate how quickly information flows back and forth, that's what the technology piece is. It's an information accelerator. It allows it to take what might take a week or 2 hours to take 5 minutes. If you can do that, you'll see more productivity in your organization, and focus will then increase. Grow your life, everybody. Have a good one, and we'll talk soon.